What is up, YouTube? DA Comics here. Welcome back around the boxes. Episode number 24, I believe. Yeah, 24. Episode 24 of Around the Boxes. This is, of course, my live stream series where I go over my new comic book pickups, give my thoughts on them, that sort of thing. You know, the whole shebang. I'm in a slightly different setting. We reorganized our office, so now the camera is in this corner here rather than to the open room. You can see my Marvel Zombies case here for my guitar stuff. But yeah, welcome to another video. I got some pickups today. It's been a couple weeks since my last episode. That's because pickups have been pretty scarce, so I wanted to wait till I had enough to talk about, and I've got a good few comics here to talk about today. So that should be good. I'm not going to update you guys on my manga collection. Last couple episodes I showed you, but I don't even remember which ones I have shown you, but I have a whole bunch now. It's like a whole shelf's worth. I've been really loving Hunter x Hunter. Highly recommend that. I've been reading the manga and watching the anime, so it's been really good. But we're mostly just going to talk about comic books today. One thing I do want to talk about that's kind of news in the comic book space is they announced a new Dan Slott Spider-Man series. I'm going to pick it up, but I'm not necessarily excited for it. As you guys probably know, I'm not the biggest fan of Dan Slott personally. He is... Oh, wrong one. There we go. Dan Slott, you know, he wrote Spider-Man for a long time. He was the first writer on Spider-Man when I started picking it up as a kid. But he's not my favorite. So I'm not like, yes, Dan Slott's coming back to Spider-Man. You know, like, I don't really care that much. But I'm going to pick it up. It's Dan Slott and Mark Bagley. So the fact that it's Mark Bagley already has me sold on it. You know I love Mark Bagley. Got my, can't dig it out. But so I'm going to pick it up. But I don't think it's going to be the best ever. Hopefully Amazing Spider-Man will continue to be good. At least he's not coming back to Amazing Spider-Man. That would be frustrating if they brought him back already. But I don't think they'll do that. But it is another ongoing Spider-Man series, which I am happy for, because I feel like we've had kind of a lack of that recently. It's been like just Amazing Spider-Man and then like a few small ones like Deadly Neighborhood or whatever. I miss the days of having like Spectacular Spider-Man or Peter Parker, the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man or whatever, you know. Just keep it going like that. But let's dive into the pickups today. In case you can't see me grabbing my chest, I am still having chest issues, so if I have to like pause for any reason, that would be why. But we're just gonna dive into the pickups this week, give my thoughts on them, and go from there. Oh, also one other thing, Webheads, new episode coming out soon. Obviously we've been having a hard time sticking to a schedule just with, you know, the fact that we're doing this as a hobby, and also, you know, my health issues, and you know, he's been busy with like a new job and stuff, so been hard to keep a consistent schedule with it. But we have a new episode of Webheads coming out soon, so everyone comment down below, JP, make a new episode, so hold us accountable for it. It should be out within the next week and a half, I would say. So possibly next week, might be the week after that, but we are resuming Webheads. I'm excited to dive into the John Romita era, and really intend to keep going with that series. So anyway, diving into the comic books. First book we got from this week was Beware the Eye of Odin, issue number 2. I picked up issue 1 a month ago. It's an Image comic. I've been trying to get more indie books just because I do really enjoy reading indie comic books, but this one has not been very great. The reason I picked it up is because it is, you know, very much Norse mythology, which I am half Norwegian. You know, I love my Norse mythology. So I was here for it, but the storytelling just isn't very good. I don't know. It's just very like, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. You know what I mean? Like, there's not really much flow to it, so I don't know if I'll pick up issue 3. The fact that each issue is $5, I just don't really think it's worth $5. If this was a $3 book or a $4 book, I'd be like, yeah, you know what? It's fun enough. I'll keep getting it. But for $5, I don't know if it's worth it, to be honest. The art is fun, but the story just isn't good enough to keep me reading. So, might not pick up the next issue. We'll see when issue 3 rolls around how I'm feeling about it. But for right now, not feeling it. Next, I think this was from last week. Venom, Lethal Protector, issue number 4. This is obviously the Venom series set back in the like 90s era of Spider-Man comics, written by David Michelinie, the creator of Venom. And yeah, it was okay. I just honestly haven't really been feeling these books. They just the story itself just isn't really a story that I care about very much. And while it is cool to see like Venom from that era, I'm not really the biggest fan of Venom from that era. Like I really like Venom from like the Rick Remender, Cullen Bunn, Donny Cates era. Definitely not the current era, but we'll talk about that later. So yeah, it's not my favorite. I love the covers though. The cover art is amazing. If the main Venom series could have cover art like this, I'd be so happy. Because you look at this cover, and it's freaking sick. And then you look at the cover for Venom, and it's boring, in my opinion. So that is one thing that these books are worth just for the covers alone, honestly. The cover art is incredible. Who's doing it, by the way? Let me see. Cover art, Paulo Siqueira and Matthew Wilson. Probably butchered that name, but very good. Very, very, very good. Love him. Bring him back. Bring him on the main Venom series. It's good stuff. But overall, I'd rate that like 6 out of 10, you know? It's just kind of boring. I didn't really like love it that much, so nothing crazy. But I already showed you the cover for the next book, Venom, number 9, Legacy 209. Continuing the Brian Hitch art. Don't like the cover. It would be a cool cover, you know, Venom with Kang in the background and like Meridius and Bedlam and Venom in the background and Dylan over here. Like, it's a cool concept for a cover. I just really don't like Brian Hitch's art. I don't know how much more I can say that. I say it every single issue that comes out. I don't like Brian Hitch's art. And apparently he's going to be doing the art on the upcoming Avengers series. They're going to be starting a new Avengers series with still Jason Aaron, but it's a new run. And Brian Hitch is the artist. I don't like Brian Hitch's art. I don't know what it is. I just don't like it. It just looks two-dimensional. It looks boring. I just don't know. I don't know. But this book features Eddie Brock talking with Kang, traveling through time. They're trying to pull a Christopher Nolan, where like earlier in the series we saw like 2 Eddie Brocks and now he's traveling back in time and you're realizing like, oh, that was him at this point. Like they're trying to kind of pull this whole deep storytelling thing. I'm just too bored to enjoy it. I just don't care about the story that's happening right now, and I feel like it's convoluted. Okay, here's how I'd put it. It's convoluted for the sake of being convoluted. It's not convoluted for the sake of a good story. You know, when you see a Christopher Nolan movie, his plots are always convoluted as heck. You look at Interstellar, you look at Tenet, you know, it's like you have to watch it multiple times to wrap your brain around what the heck is happening in that movie. But it's done for the sake of making that story really deep and really good. Whereas this is just like, we're jumping around in time in the story of what we've seen so far purely for the sake of doing that. Like, we're jumping back to like, oh, Dylan is captured again. But wait, he was fighting Bedlam. Oh, but now we're fighting but we're back to on the phone with it. It's like, I'm having a hard time following it because there's nothing to follow. It's just nonsensical. And then the plot twist is that Bedlam is Eddie Brock, which doesn't make any sense. I just don't understand what is going on. It's so confusing. Obviously now Eddie and Dylan are going to fight Meridius pretty soon, and hopefully this first story arc will be wrapping up soon, but I just really am not enjoying this run of Venom. I'm going to keep picking it up because it's Venom, and I want to have every single issue of Venom, but it's just not good. It's not good. I'm really curious if there's any Venom fans out there. If you're loving this run, please let me know because I am so not enjoying it. And I was talking to my brother recently, because he's always liked comics too. He collects as well, but he doesn't really pick up new books as much. But he was talking about he wants to start picking up some new books soon, because he wasn't for a while. And I almost told him, I was like, because Venom is his favorite character, and I almost told him, like, honestly, I know you're probably gonna pick up Venom because it's Venom, but I wouldn't recommend it. Like, if you're only picking up a couple series, you're only budgeting enough for like a couple series to be picking up, this is not worth it to be one of them. I give this book 4 out of 10 right now. It's just not good, which is so surprising because Al Ewing is a great writer. He wrote not Indestructible, Immortal Hulk, the last Hulk run, which was really good. But between Brian Hitch's art and the like overly convoluted story, it's just not enjoyable. It's not good. If you're not picking it up, I recommend passing for now. I will let you know as soon as this series is worth picking up, but right now it is a pass for me. So, bad rating on that. Next up, though, a book that you should go and pick up is Captain America, Symbol of Truth, issue number 3. Now, this is Captain America Legacy 738. We talked about that last episode, where this is the main Legacy Captain America series now, and it's Sam Wilson. So I do really like that. Like, they've fully passed the torch on to Sam Wilson. While Steve Rogers is still being Captain America, still doing his thing, Sam Wilson is really, like, championing the flag of Captain America, which is good because that's what he's going to be in the MCU. They just announced a Captain America movie, which, by the way, the MCU news we got at San Diego Comic-Con is freaking crazy. I will talk about it fully in a separate video, so stay tuned to the subscription box and the channel for that. I will be fully talking about all the movies and projects they announced. It's going to be crazy. But, awesome cover. Dr. Doom in the back, Cap punching some... Are those Hydra agents? Or maybe they're Latvarian agents. I don't know, but that's a really cool cover. It did kind of overhype it, though. They're like, Dr. Doom, and then Dr. Doom's basically just like, alright, I'll let you go. Like, there wasn't much conflict, but I'm glad that Deadpool didn't stick around. I'm glad he was just in it for, like, the one issue. I don't care for Deadpool. I gotta say, I really like the art in this book. It's R.B. Silva and Zay Carlos. Probably butchered that as well. But I really like the art. They draw human figures very well. I mean, you look at Sam and Deadpool there; they look really good. I don't know. It's a for me, it's a really nice balance of like realism, but also cartoony, like comic book style. Like, it's not photorealistic art, but it is semi-realistic art, and I think it looks really good. So I'm thoroughly enjoying that. And the story itself is very good. You have the new Falcon. What's his name? Should be right here. Joaquin. I forget his last name, but Joaquin, the new Falcon, is off kind of on his own adventure in the Southwest U.S. and also in Mexico, kind of breaking down this conspiracy of this group that's kidnapping people and experimenting on them and moving vibranium. And then you have Sam Wilson interacting with Wakanda and trying to get... them to help with the investigation since vibranium is involved. I'm thoroughly invested, man. I wasn't sure how to feel about this book going into it because I've never been a huge fan of Sam Wilson Cap, but honestly, I think I've really had my mind changed with the MCU. I mean, Falcon and Winter Soldier, say what you want. I know a lot of people didn't like that show. I really enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. And when Sam became Captain America at the end, I got it. You know, I understood it. Because before, I was caught up in the public narrative that everyone was saying of like, oh, they're just replacing him for tokenism and this, that, the other. I've matured, I've grown up a little bit, and I recognize that, like, yeah, it is really important to pass the mantle, and also, like, I think it's freaking awesome to have Sam Wilson be Captain America and be that, like, symbol to represent America, because I think that's a symbol we all need right now, with everything going on in the world, and going on in America, especially in the last couple of years. I mean, you've seen... the many, not to get political, but, the Black Lives Matter protests and everything like that. Not that Black Lives Matter is political. I support Black Lives Matter 100%, but, people don't like to talk about it. I think it's awesome to have Sam Wilson be this, like, new Captain America. I'm here for it. I loved it in Falcon and Winter Soldier. I can't wait for his Captain America movie. And that was why I picked up this book, and I'm really happy about it. And I think they're doing a good job of keeping both fans happy. Like... if you hate Sam Wilson Cap, you're absolutely against it, for whatever reason. We won't dive deep into that. You can go and pick up the Steve Rogers series, and that series is really good. I'm loving that series. But you can also pick up this series, which is also really good. So I think they're absolutely nailing it with Captain America right now. Both of the comic book series are really good. I'm really enjoying them. I highly recommend them. If you haven't really been a fan of Sam Wilson in the past, I recommend giving him a try with this series. Like, pick up 1, 2, and 3. Give it a try. See how you feel about it. I really have been enjoying it. And again, if you don't like Sam Wilson Cap, go and read the Steve Rogers series. It's very good. So definitely I would give this like a 7 out of 10. It was really good, but I wouldn't rate it like, it's not like a 9 or anything crazy like that. But definitely a series that I am looking forward to the next issue of, and that is a very good sign because that doesn't happen often. I'm trying to only pick up series like that, but I mean, Venom and stuff like that's kind of going against that mold. But next book is a book I did not expect to pick up. I saw it on the shelf and was like, you know what? Let's go for it. And this will sound a little bit familiar because this has happened before. Batman. again. Now, I used to pick up Batman for a while. I picked up Batman during New 52. I started with Batman Rebirth, picked it up for a while. Then I kind of fell off of picking up comics, period. So when I got back into comics, I tried to go back to Batman, but at that point, I think they had ditched Rebirth, gone back to legacy numbering, and it was just like really confusing where to start. And then they did, a while ago, they were like, Batman, new era, new arc, new creative team. And I picked that up. And I picked it up for a few issues, and I didn't really care for it. It didn't catch my interest. It just wasn't really good, in my opinion. And obviously, a lot of people felt that way because not long after, I mean, this had to have been like a year ago or less. But we have a new era, and it says here, a new era begins. I saw this on the shelf. I saw that it was a new era. They got a new Batman title. It's issue 125, and the writer is none other than Chip Zdarsky. This dude is everywhere right now. He's writing Public Domain for Image, he's writing Daredevil for Marvel, and now he's writing Batman for DC. This guy is killing it, but Chip Zdarsky is a great writer. So when I saw that it was a new era with Chip Zdarsky at the helm, I was on board for it. So I picked it up, and I loved this book, to be honest. First of all, we got to acknowledge this sick cover with Robin being the like yellow bat on his chest. That's really cool. Oop, dropped it. But the thing I liked about this book is I feel like it goes back to like a core Batman that I really enjoy. Not this like convoluted Batman they've been doing. I mean, it starts off with him dreaming about the 3 Jokers, which is freaking sick. I don't know if they're building up to doing something with them again, but I'm here for it. But he wakes up, he calls Catwoman, you know, they have a conversation on the phone, he goes and there's a break-in, he goes and fights the criminal. It's kind of just a return to basics. And then we start to see the plot established of like the Penguin is it the Penguin or just Penguin? Whatever. He's planning he's gonna kill all the rich in Gotham basically. And so it's just an interesting premise. Bruce decides to go to this gala where Penguin shows up, of course, and then he quick changes into Batman, which immediately makes it obvious that he was one of the people at the party, but you know, whatever. And I don't know, the thing I liked about this is it was a Batman story that was easy to follow, which has not been the case recently, at least from my experience. When I've picked up a Batman book lately, I haven't been able to follow it. This was easy to follow, and it set up a storyline that I think is interesting. Penguin kills himself and frames Batman. So now Batman is a murderer and like everyone's out to get him, and then the Batcave gets destroyed, kind of. Not sure what's going on there, but yeah, I didn't really read the second story in this book. It was just a Catwoman story, and I didn't care for it. But I'm excited to have a Batman run that I can get behind again. My only complaint with DC Comics is I hate the paper they use. This like matte paper. I know it's probably cheaper or whatever, but it's so ugly. I like glossy paper, you know. I loved the New 52 paper that they used. It was amazing. So I'm not a huge fan of that. But aside from that, definitely a good book. I'm excited to be picking up Batman again. I try not to be exclusively, you know, a Marvel fanboy. I try to expand my interests. And Batman has always been my favorite DC character. I think he's a really interesting character. I think Gotham City is a really interesting setting. So I'm excited to be picking up some DC books again. For now, just Batman. I would like to pick up Wonder Woman, but I'm kind of waiting for a new era for that. But I do really like Wonder Woman. But that's that. Oh, and it has, is it Tim Drake Robin? I forget. Let me see. It's the Robin that recently was confirmed to be bisexual, and I think that's awesome as well. But I don't know where that is. But here for that. I'm excited about that as well. So I think that's really cool that that's a thing. So continuing on, speaking of Chip Zdarsky killing it, we got Daredevil #1. Legacy 649. I have wanted to pick up Daredevil for a while now, but there was never really a good jumping on point for me anyway. And with Devil's Reign, which happened recently, that leads directly into this. I picked that series up. I read that series. I did like it. It wasn't my favorite, but I did like it. And I was excited to pick up the new Daredevil run, especially because this one was really being advertised as like Matt Murdock Daredevil and Elektra Daredevil, and I think both of those characters are really cool. I mean, obviously Matt Murdock Daredevil is sick, But for a while, when Elektra was the main Daredevil, I always thought that was really cool. I wasn't picking up the book, but I was interested in it because I thought that was a really cool premise. So I'm glad that they're both doing it now. I think that's really cool. Also, the art in this book is phenomenal. Marco Cicchetto. Again, it's a really good balance of realistic but still comic book. It's not photorealistic, but it looks really, really good, and it's very clear what is happening. I don't like very abstract art when it comes to comic books because I need to be able to see what the heck is going on in the scene. So when art is just like very like quickly brushed and like there's a lot going on, it's hard to see, but this is very clear what is happening, but it's also good art, and I just love the way that Spider-Man looks there and Daredevil looks. It's super cool. Loved to see Daredevil and Spider-Man bromance it up. He revealed the secret identity to him again, which is good. It's been a while since he's had that between them. So I'm glad to see them kind of being close, but he's also leaving New York, so it was like their last hurrah, just going out and crime fighting together. I think that was a lot of fun. But yeah, it was just an issue 1. It was really just setting up the premise of the story. It was Matt leaving New York. It was Elektra establishing their base on this like island over by Russia. And her fighting Stick, which is really great. So I think it's super cool. I'm not necessarily super like hooked on it, but I'm definitely going to keep picking it up for now. If I end up not enjoying it, then I'll drop it. But for now, it's definitely worth a pickup in my opinion. I think it's a great jumping on point. I was able to follow what was happening. Like, obviously I haven't been reading the previous run, but they caught me up pretty quickly. They were like, okay, you know, we're the Fist, we're fighting the Hand, we're establishing a new base. I did know about Matt and his brother because I read Devil's Reign, so that kind of cleared that up. So definitely worth a pickup in my opinion. I'd give it like a 7 out of 10. A nice, solid rating, but yeah. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the main event. The main book that I picked up for this episode, the one in the thumbnail, the one the title's about. We got Amazing Spider-Man, issue number 900, or 6, Legacy 900. This is Amazing Spider-Man, The Sinister Seven, ? Couple things I want to say about this book before I dive into the story of it. This felt very underwhelming. This is issue 900. And there was obviously advertising hyping it up, but it felt like a lot less than there normally is. You know, when 800 came out, that was a huge deal. It was the end of a creative run. It was the Red Goblin. They were like hyping it up. When 700 came out, that was a massive deal. They had that cover with all of the Spider-Man and you know, the death of Peter Parker and the beginning of Superior Spider-Man. Like, that was a huge deal. And it feels like this one, they were just like, oh, by the way, 900's out. Okay, bye. You know, and there were like a few variants for it, but I feel like 700 had like 20 different variants. I don't know. It just felt very underwhelming, the actual launch and release of issue 900. And that might also be due to the story, because nothing that big is really happening in the story right now, and it wasn't really building up to this. You know, this issue is literally just a one-shot that kind of came out of nowhere. But you look at 800, that was the culmination of leading up to Red Goblin, right? Norman Osborn getting the Carnage symbiote and all of that. We were seeing that for issues and issues and issues before 800. 700 was the culmination of... what's it called? Dying Wish, right immediately before it, and Ends of the Earth, and Spider Island. Like, all of Dan Slott's run built up to 700. This one just kind of came out of nowhere, and that's because they started a new run 5 issues before it. That's a little weird. You blame the writers? I agree. It just felt like, I don't know, it just didn't hype it up enough. I feel like, if anything, you know, starting a new run, they could have obviously built up to 900 being the like big conclusion of the first story arc, but instead they did a 1 to 5 story arc, and then we're like, by the way, there's a Sinister Six Adaptoid thing. And just kind of came out of nowhere. But speaking about the actual content of the book itself, this cover sucks. I don't like John Romita Jr.'s art. This cover sucks. I'm just going to say it. But diving into the story, spoiler alert, by the way, for anyone who hasn't read it yet, I'm going to talk about spoilers for this issue. So it immediately sets up the villain with, I don't even know what to call this guy. The Living Brain, I guess. Digging up the old Living Brain robot from Amazing Spider-Man issue 8 and the Superior Spider-Man. It was Doc Ock's like assistant for forever. And then it cuts away to Peter Parker showing up to a surprise birthday party for him. I did like to see Flash was there, Anna Maria Marconi was there, Robbie Robertson, Aunt May, Nora. Lots of cool side characters. Surprisingly and interestingly, and this is something that we'll talk more about, Mary Jane was not there. Continuing, and then the party kind of gets broken. Oh, first of all. Not only was Mary Jane not there, but Black Cat, Felicia Hardy, she's getting jealous. And obviously, if you've read the issue, you know how it ends. I think they're building up Black Cat and Spider-Man again, which, while that's not what I want, I would prefer Mary Jane and Peter get back together like we all wanted for years and years and years. But if that's not going to happen, the next best thing is Black Cat, in my opinion. I really like Black Cat as a love interest. I would like to see them back together, but not as much as I would rather him end up with Mary Jane. But he's talking to Bobby Morse, Mockingbird, his ex. They dated for a while during Dan Slott's Tony Stark run, whatever. And Felicia's like, you and Bobby looked awfully close. And he's like, Felicia, it wasn't. She's like, what were you talking about? Like, she's getting jealous. So when I started to see that, I was like, is she jealous? Are they setting her up again to be with him? And that obviously happens later. JJ shows up with the Doc Ock arms wrapped around him. That's an interesting way to kind of kick off the story. Felicia jumps into action fighting him. Bobby starts fighting. Felicia and Bobby get a little catty, which I think is fun. So overall, I enjoyed this part of the story. It didn't have any consequences. It didn't have any weight to it. It kind of just came out of nowhere. But the octopus arms were sent by Doc Ock basically to get Spider-Man and be like, hey, come help us. We're being held captive. So that kind of kicks off the story. You learn a little bit of the background of Living Brain. It kidnaps all of Peter's friends. Now, one thing I did really like is this part where it has the OG Living Brain, and it says, who is Spider-Man? And it starts sticking out like a ticker tape readout. And he goes, oh, I remember this. And I remember this too, because we just read this on Webheads Comic Club, probably episode 2 of that podcast. We read Amazing Spider-Man 8, and that was the introduction of Living Brain, and someone asked it, who is Spider-Man? So I really liked how this issue was referencing that story, because I just read that story like a few months ago. So that was kind of crazy to me. I was like, hey, I remember this. And yeah, it was just cool. I don't know. I liked that. I feel like Spider-Man has been popular because of how relatable he is, and unfortunately having a troubled love life is a fundamental part of his character. Yes, but also no. Spider-Man is popular because of how relatable he is true, but at some point you have to let the character develop. And my biggest problem isn't the choice of whether or not he should end up happy and married or whatever. My problem is that he did, and then they undid it. That's backwards character development. It doesn't make any sense. You know, we already had him married to Mary Jane. They were happy, and readers enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I love when Peter was married to Mary Jane. This is one of my favorite stories. And so undoing it was kind of lame. And especially because if you want relatable, it doesn't make any sense. He loves this woman and he can't make it work, and like I guess that's relatable, but like she loves him too, and it just feels forced that they're not working out. But that's besides the point. I agree, but I think that doesn't make sense for them to not end up together, you know? Yeah, then the Sinister Six Adaptoid shows up. This thing, it's cool, I guess. It has all their powers. It's constantly just speaking as all of them, so it has like all their brains in one, which ends up being how it's taken down. Not much to talk about here. It's just action scenes and all that. The main thing I want to get at, first of all of the friends of Peter... Okay. There's a birthday party for Peter Parker. JJ shows up in Dr. Octopus legs, whatever. Felicia Hardy and Bobby Morse immediately start fighting this thing, making it pretty obvious that they're not just like normal people. And then all of these friends get kidnapped, and the kidnapper is like, who is Spider-Man? Oh, and Peter disappeared. And none of them are like, maybe Peter's Spider-Man. Like, I thought for sure, like, Aunt May would have figured it out at this point, or Robbie Robertson would have figured it out, or whatever. Like, why would this thing be kidnapping you and then asking you who Spider-Man is? It obviously just doesn't make any sense. But, you know. I would love to see a 30-year-old Spidey, but they're obviously not going to age the hero of their flagship comic. I disagree. I think they would. Because they have. I mean, you see Captain America passing down the mantle. You see... there's always... I mean, look at the Fantastic Four and how they've changed over time. I think that they definitely can do it, especially with how popular Miles Morales has become ever since Into the Spider-Verse. I think they could easily age up Peter Parker to like 30, 35, 40, whatever, have him married and happy with Mary Jane and be like the adult Spider-Man, and then have Miles Morales be the young and relatable Spider-Man. If anything, he's more relatable to more people because of who he is and his character. And then they can just pass the mantle down that way. I think that would be a perfectly fine way to do it. Whether they will or not, who knows, but I think that's what fans would probably like the most. I believe he's supposed to be like 30-something right now, but... They're not specific about that. Let's see, does it say in this issue? It is his birthday, right? Probably doesn't say. They don't want to give specifics because otherwise the timeline just doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I don't know how his family didn't figure out he's Spider-Man. Doesn't make any sense. It's pretty weird. But the living brain is cool. I mean, this is basically AI. They're like, we gave it this input and it popped off. Kind of a stereotypical like AI bad story, which gets a little tried, but whatever. But ultimately Spider-Man ends up beating them he finds the original Sinister Six all tied up, releases them, and they all go and fight. I also thought it was funny they were referencing the first appearance of the Sinister Six. They were like, the first time we all came together, we decided to attack him individually. We're not going to make that mistake again. And when we read the first appearance of Sinister Six in Webheads, we were like, why the heck are they attacking him individually? That makes zero sense. The whole point of teaming up is that you have a numbers advantage. But obviously they've learned their lesson. And ultimately they end up beating the Sinister Six synthezoid thingy because they're not a very functional team. They don't work well together. So the synthezoid doesn't work well with itself. And its brain just kind of collapses. And then immediately the Sinister Six, all right, now let's kill Spider-Man. Shocker. But... at least he's, defending a life, which is what Spider-Man does. I did like the living brain kind of comes in and Spider-Man's unplugging him. He's like, hey, I got to turn you off while I figure out what to do with you. And he goes, and the living brain goes, Peter? And he's like, how did you? And he goes, happy birthday. And then he unplugs him like, oh, man, it figured out who he is. But what it does with that, who knows? I guess we'll see in the future. And then the most important scene of this entire comic book happens. Black Cat shows up, and she goes, I just watched you throw your body on the line to protect your friends again and again, and you know what that Boy Scout loyalty does to me. And he goes, do I? And she goes, yeah. And then we get this, and it says, happy birthday, Spider-Man. And then there's the Dr. Octopus arms crowing? Cooing? What's the word? I don't know. It's going, in the background. Spider-Man and Black Cat, man. Now, this could just be a one-off, right? She could just be like, hey, happy birthday, kiss, and then that's it. But I have a feeling we might be seeing them dating. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe we'll get to next issue and he'll be like, hey, by the way, I'm still in love with Mary Jane. Sorry. That is possible. Or maybe they're just going to be together for a little while. I mean, like I said, that's not what I would prefer. That's not my ideal outcome, I would much rather he gets together with Mary Jane, but if he's not going to get together with Mary Jane, this is the next best thing, right? I mean, I would way rather Spider-Man and Black Cat be dating than Carly Cooper or Bobby Morse or Anna Maria, any of the other weird girlfriends he's had in the last few years, because I always really enjoyed their dynamic. I like the idea that she's kind of like his sidekick and they go like fight crime together. I'd love to see that happen, even if they don't get back together. I would just like to see her in the comic more. I would like to see them teaming up more, her helping him. I'm glad that she has been a much more active side character in these recent comic books. Like in Beyond and in the new run, she's been present, and I do enjoy that. But get together with Mary Jane, man. It's been too long. It's been too long. We got to figure out what the heck's going on with her. Who knows when we're going to get resolution on that. They just keep, teasing it and being like, oh, she has kids now. I don't know. But that's pretty much the end of the book. Then there were a couple small stories. There was like a story about library books. That was fun. There was a really weird Jimmy Kimmel crossover, and this just felt like such an ad. I really didn't like that. It was the Mysterio part was funny. Mysterio's like, I made music, and it's funny. But then like Jimmy Kimmel shows up and is like, I'll help you, Spider-Man. I was like, how much did they pay you to put him in here? It just felt really weird. It reminded me of like back in the old comic books when there would be like an ad for like a cereal or whatever, and that would be like in comic form. It was so strange. Didn't like that. That was really weird. Obvious ad for Jimmy Kimmel. And then there was like a 2-page story from Dan Slott and Marcos Martin, which was cool, I guess. I don't know. And that was it. That was the end of the book. That's issue 900, the big issue 900, where not a whole lot happened, except for Black Cat. And that's why the title of this video is that Mary Jane is never going to happen, apparently, because, we're just getting back together with Black Cat, apparently. But whatever. Yeah, I would say compared to the other big landmark issues that have happened, 900 would not rank high. I think 800 was better. I think 700 was way better. Even 850 was better. That was with Kindred and all that was going down. So, yeah, not a huge deal, to be honest. I don't see this one increasing in value that much because nothing that major happened. I mean, 800 was like the culmination of Red Goblin. 700 was the death of Peter Parker, so those have appreciated in value over time. I don't see this one being super valuable one day. Obviously, it'll go up a little bit, right? I mean, it's issue 900, but I don't see it doing much beyond what it's doing. But hopefully, they'll do something a little bit crazier with issue 1000. They have 100 issues to plan for it and figure out what they want to do. A lot of people have been theorizing that 1000 will be when they undo one more day, right? Because they've obviously been building up to it, but then pulling it away. But they set up that Spider-Girl is the one who's supposed to defeat Mephisto and all of that. So I could see them doing that, and hopefully Peter. My prediction right now, not even prediction. I guess this is more my hope than my prediction. But my hope right now is that we see Peter Parker and Mary Jane married again by issue 1000. Will that happen? I don't know. That's my hope, is that they are together again by issue 1000. And when I say together, I mean married, not like, oh, we're dating again, and then 5 issues later, it's like, just kidding. No, married by issue 1000. That's my hope. Will I see that happen? Probably not, but we'll remember this moment on Around the Boxes episode 60-something or whatever. I don't know how long it's going to be before 1000, but whenever that day comes in a few years, probably like 5 years or something, we will see if that prediction was true or not. But in the meantime, I would rank this book like a 7 out of 10. It was good. I enjoyed the story. I did. It was fun, but not for a huge landmark issue like 900. Like this would have been a good 801 or 901 through 903. But for issue 900, it's not the best. So, yeah, this new run, man. The state of Spider-Man comics right now is not great. This new run is not great. We're about to get tie-ins with Judgment Day, and Norman Osborn's going to be like a superhero now, and Mary Jane has kids, and Spider-Man's back with Black Cat. I just have no clue what the heck is happening right now. And now we're about to get like a new Dan Slott Spider-Man series, which, yeah, whatever. I don't know. I'm trying to be optimistic, but Spider-Man comics right now just really aren't doing it. So, but that's all my pickups. That's everything I have this week, those few comics. I don't know if I'll have an Around the Boxes next week because, as I mentioned, not a whole lot of books coming out. I think I only have a couple, and I'm not going to do an Around the Boxes for like 2 comic books. So, might be a couple weeks till my next live stream. And, yeah, as I mentioned earlier in the episode, Webheads coming back. Well, not coming back. New episode of Webheads. Ideally next week, possibly the week after. We are trying to schedule that right now. But definitely looking to continue that series. But that's going to do it for me. So if you are new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I do these live streams. I do my Webheads podcast. I do other Marvel-related videos and stuff like that, so you can go and check that out on the channel. If you did enjoy this, make sure to hit that like button so that I know you enjoyed it. That way I know kind of what content to make in the future. And comment your thoughts down below. Any thoughts on these comic books? Did you like 900? Did you hate 900? Any of those things, leave a comment down below, and I read every single comment. Adam, Sadiq, thank you for chilling in the chat. Appreciate you watching. Appreciate your feedback, and really underappreciated Dan Slott when he was doing it. I disagree. Dan Slott's good, but he made some decisions. But anyway, I could ramble all day about Dan Slott. I'm not gonna do that. So I will see you guys in the next video. Shout out Adam, Sadiq.